talking with Mark Thiele of Service Mesh here today. And Mark, you were just on a panel where you were talking about the difference between a service level agreement and the user experience on the user end. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What is the difference?
Yeah, well, the difference really is that a traditional service level agreement is really struggling to wrap itself around the nuances associated with delivering a cloud service to the appropriate levels of satisfaction for an enterprise user, right? So if you think about the intricacies of providing a technical delivery of an application, anything from the wide area network performance to disk I/O performance to memory performance or VM performance across a particular hardware stack, whatever it is, all of those things end up delivering a quality of service to the customer. And so when a customer comes in and looks and says, I want to be able to spin up X number of VMs in this amount of time, or I want to be able to run 1,000 VMs at a time, or I want to be able to scale my database at this rate, that's really just the beginning point of the deciding factors for what goes into determining whether the service can be successful from a customer experience standpoint. And the real difficulty is that in order to buy that, many large enterprises have had to have those 5 people in every role type of function within IT for a long time. So if they're thinking about what goes into their database, their CMDB, they're thinking about all the nuances of where data gets exchanged, whether it's I/O bound, whether it's CPU bound, whatever it is. But for a smaller org or a mid-size org that's taking an application, they may not understand all those nuances. So they think they're taking what is and they're moving it somewhere else, and then all of a sudden it's not being delivered the same way, and they're trying to figure out why, right? And they want to know why the cloud provider didn't explain that to them, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so how well are cloud providers tuned into this? I know they're all different, and they're all at different stages of development, but in general, I would guess that this user experience concept is a little more vague than the SLA, where you've got strict metrics you can measure and compare yourself with.
Absolutely. I mean, the SLA has to, at least from a foundational standpoint, be where you move from to provide the right customer experience, right? And then on the periphery of that, there are all the other different things relative to things like communication and problem resolution and even making the customer aware of how they can modify their installation to get better performance, whether that costs them more or costs them less. But I would say, generally speaking, it's not something that's being done very well right now, because there are several different camps that provide cloud. There's engineered clouds, right? Where you got a lot of really smart people that have engineered something and they're delivering it.
You mean a small cloud built by a small team? Or?
Well, maybe, but even if you think about Amazon. Amazon's a great example. They've got a big cloud, right? Okay. But they're engineering cloud for providing a very narrow set of services initially when they first build it, over really cloud-ready applications. So understanding how a traditional enterprise architected environment would move into that and how it would have to be supported differently is something new to them. It's not that they can't do it or won't do it or aren't doing it to some degree, but that's one type of struggle. The other type of struggle is that you have, we're at the Carrier Cloud Forum right now, and if you think about the service providers there, they may have had great experience with some fixed SLAs, which is a great, again, foundational standpoint, but the nuances associated with anything from penalties to understanding when I transition from what this customer is doing this way in their own internal environment to managing it in my environment, what are the weak points, right? Because like any solution, the weakest link in the chain is always what gets you.
Okay, and well, that weakness might be something that the service provider is not normally accustomed to watching or measuring or
that's right.
having to care about.
Yep.
Okay, again, your point about engineered clouds and Amazon, our keynote, Randy Bias from Cloud Scaling, was talking about the power of the commodity cloud, the Amazon model, as opposed to making an enterprise class cloud. His argument was that you should go for the commodity cloud. The costs outweigh everything else. But I take it you don't fully agree with that?
Well, no, because Randy and I, bicker all the time in a positive sense, as do many in the industry right now. But there is no one hammer for all the nails, right? I mean, it's just that simple, right? I sort of alluded to that in my panel earlier. But commodity cloud offers some great opportunities in the near term for everyone, whether it's developer environments, whether it's rapid scale environments for low risk utilization, or even if it's high risk utilization but highly distributed and cloud designed, right? Like how Netflix uses AWS, for instance, right?
Okay.
So those are some great examples where commodity cloud can work. Some of the places where I have issue with Randy's assertions really are around the cost, because I've actually worked with large customers,
well,
enterprise
he says it's
customers.
3 to 5 times more to build an
And
enterprise
it's not.
kind of. Okay.
And it's not, especially not when you consider the fact that if that might be what it costs them to build it.
Okay.
But when you factor in things like network costs, which you were already paying for in your own data center, that are now wide area network costs. They're not LAN costs anymore, they're wide area network costs. When you factor in the fact that they have to put overhead on there to make a profit, all of a sudden the costs are actually pretty closely aligned. And so where a company like Amazon or GoGrid can really add value is when it's environments that you need in a hurry, that you need to get rid of in a hurry, you need to scale tremendously, or that don't have a lot of high-level behind the scenes management requirements associated with them. Because if you have to maintain some of your own internal IT, and their responsibility is involved with making sure the network runs and that the applications are tuned properly and all that kind of stuff, and you're not getting rid of all those people to move everything out into the cloud, then you have this overlap of cost that continues to, and in fact that cost is now exacerbated by the fact that because you're buying a service with a cloud offering with service on top of it at Amazon, that cost model is very, very different from the $50 a month VM. Right, very different. Those are, and unfortunately, most of us in the industry, when we think of Amazon or something like that, we think, oh, I can get a VM for $50 a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, sure.
Disposable VMs, yeah.
Exactly, but that's exactly what it is. And what exactly do you run on your disposable VM? Well, you don't run production environments, right? You don't run critical environments, and you don't run environments that have data sensitivity, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. All right, well thanks very much, Mark.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.